Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. Oh, I couldn't wait. I say that. I recorded episode 2 of season 4 of Attack on Titan the night before last. And I was going to wait a little bit longer, but today, as I'm recording, season 4 part 2 has started. And I have decided, I told everybody on Twitter, I was like, if y'all tag me in things or reply to any of my tweets, and I'll still tweet on there, but I'm not going to scroll Twitter. I'm not going to get on social media. I'm staying off. I surprisingly got a lot done today because I wasn't on social media. It was great. But yeah, I'm staying off because I've made it this far and I don't want to be spoiled. So I'm going in anime only to this, so I've done well the last 3 seasons. So we're on the final season. I can do this. And we're on episode 3 now. So I do have a couple notes. There was a lot of stuff noted in episodes 21 on YouTube and with the first episode of season 4 that just premiered on Patreon last night. Fun times. But yeah, I do have a couple notes before we start. Not nearly as many as last time, but just a couple notes. But I'm so excited to finally be here. The only thing I regret, hashtag no regrets, but the only thing I regret is that I'm not caught up. And when I started this show back in July of 2021, I knew I wasn't going to be caught up by the time season 4 part 2 aired, but I'm going to be like a couple weeks off. So the cool thing is that as you all have finished, I will be finishing up just a few weeks behind y'all. And the good news is that by that time, maybe since my internet connection sucks, maybe by that time enough people will have watched the episode that I'll be able to get on and watch it. I wish it was like, I love the first to 16 episodes, like having these in a Blu-ray format that's just, I click the file and it pops up. There's no thumbnail, there's no spoilers. It's been amazing. There's no lag. I'm like, I wish I could do this for part 2. So if any of y'all, by the time we get to episode 17, if any of y'all find Blu-ray quality for those who want to send me the files, that'd be great. But I'm not going to force any of y'all to try to do that. But it has been nice. The last 2 episodes have been so seamless that I feel like I'm going to get spoiled with it. Very spoiled. But okay, so getting into some notes here. I wanted to note before talking about anybody else, I was thinking about it, and the term midnight train, I was trying to think of the meaning of it, and by the time this comes out, y'all probably have commented on Patreon or YouTube about it. But the idea, I like there's a comparison of midnight train and midnight sun. So episode 18 of season 3 was midnight sun, and then this last one was midnight train. And midnight train seems to focus on Falco and Reiner moving forward and their plans moving forward. Like, Reiner's had all this trauma and depression, as we've come to find out. It's still there, and it's gotten worse. And he's had all that from the start, but he keeps moving forward. He's like, I don't have a choice. I've got to move forward. You can't go back, right? And Falco's experiencing that too. Falco's like, okay, I need to move forward. I want to get freedom. I want to save Gabby. What can I do? And so there is that sense of moving forward despite all the bad things happening around them. And that kind of relates to Midnight Sun, because in Midnight Sun, you have Erwin and Armin, and even though Erwin's gone, Armin is alive, and the Survey Corps has to move forward despite all the bad things happening. So there's a really cool comparison there. I want to say also, first and foremost, this isn't just one specific person. I've had several comments on YouTube and Patreon talking about the Eastern Clan versus the Ackermans. No spoilers. I don't want anybody confirming or deconfirming my theories, because I had a couple people, and this wasn't just one person, this was like 6 or 7, that were like, oh, the Eastern Clan don't have any Eldian blood. How am I supposed to know that? I don't know that. I feel like that's a spoiler. Don't tell me these things. So I didn't know that. I thought that the Eastern Clan were just Asian people that had immigrated over to where Eldia is, and they've mixed in with the whole troop. I didn't know they don't have Eldian blood. Don't spoil that for me. So I'm not calling anybody out, but I'm just saying I don't want any spoilers about Mikasa. I don't want any spoilers about the Eastern Clan or the Ackermans. Please don't tell me anymore. I will figure it out. It will come to light, I am sure. But knowing that, now that I know it, it's like I can't go back. Now that I know it, it does bring up some questions of, okay, how, I guess they've just never had kids with anybody else but themselves over 100 years. Okay. Why are they there? Why did they go with the Eldians into the walls? That's my biggest question. Why are they there? Don't tell me. I'll figure it out. It's just a question that I have in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, so they haven't blended with anybody except for in Mikasa's case when her and, her dad's an Ackerman. So brings up a lot of interesting questions, right? But because her dad's an Ackerman and the Ackermans, for whatever reason, aren't affected by the founding Titan either, she's still immune. So that's interesting to note. Interesting to note. So I've got questions with that, but I don't want answers. I want to figure it out as we go. But having said that, I do have a couple notes before we start. One, Nathan Hardy, Patreon kept deleting your comments. I'm sorry, I don't know why, but I'm like, I'll comment on it here. Nathan Hardy pointed out the differences in the armbands, that the red armbands were for the warriors and their family, makes sense. The yellow armbands are for the candidates for warriors, makes sense. The silver armbands are for the soldiers, and then brown is for civilians. And I went back and watched episode 20 again of season 3, and Grisha and his sister both had brown armbands. So I was like, okay, solid, makes sense. Thank you, Nathan, for clarifying that. That I was going to be frustrated if we never found out, but I'm assuming it's probably going to be like a manga thing that comes out. Glad to know. Make Me Dinosaur. Oh my God, your comment, I laughed so hard that the season 4 Reiner Simp Club, we got pin badges, we meet every Thursday at 5. Like, I feel like, and everybody's like, watch the glow ups. I'm like, oh, I know they're coming. I know, that's not a spoiler. You know, if Reiner looks hot already, it's over. It's just over. But I love that. I laughed so hard that we have badges and meet every Thursday. If I wasn't already the honorary vice president of the Jean Kirstein fan club, I would probably, I don't have time to join too. Siafik noted that the Titans in episode 1, all except for the normal pure Titans, are all CGI. What? That's so awesome. You can't tell. I honestly couldn't tell. That the CGI work is pretty clean. I guess on this Blu-ray version, you really can't tell that they're CGI. It's come a long way. Mappa's come a long way with it. Because when I think of CGI, I think of Bertolt and how Wit Studio did Bertolt in seasons 2 and 3. And you can tell that it's CGI. And you can tell with Rod Reese that it's CGI. But in this, nope. Couldn't tell. Looked 2D to me. So that's pretty awesome. Thank you for that. Christopher Peterson noted that I commented this in the episode 2 reaction, that the OP sounds like the ED from season 2. And Christopher Peterson and several other people noted that it's the same band that did the season 2 ED. And I'm like, that's it. And also that Isayama is a big fan of them. I'm like, it shows. It shows. I really like it. I've also been told since the new episode 17 has come out, that they're like, oh, Romania, you can't watch the OP for season 4 part 2. And I'm like, okay, cool. I figure as we get closer, I'll probably ask Patreon and be like, is there a point where I can watch the OP? And I'm sure by then they'll know. So you have that. But yeah, also, Christopher also noted this really cool thing. I feel like it's important to bring up before we start. So this is going to be a long intro. But Ymir's soul, we were talking about in the recap in episode 1 about Ymir's soul, that the female Titan is, I was like joking that the female Titan is up there with like colossal and armor. And Christopher was noting that it's almost like because Ymir was a woman, when her soul split into 9 parts, that the female is just an extension of her soul. And I was like, oh, I'd never thought of it that way, but that's kind of cool. So if we think of this like a Horcrux situation, like a Harry Potter Horcrux thing, you have Ymir's soul split into 9 parts. Ymir Fritz's soul split into 9 pieces. And her pieces are female, which is her gender. You have armor, which could be her armoring herself. You have the attack part, which is connected to the sense of freedom. You have colossal, feeling like you're larger than life. You have the warhammer, cart, jaw, which is like speech, and cart being able to transport things. And then beast, which could be like the biology itself. And then the founding. So if we're going with that scenario that her soul is split into 9 parts that are connected to her identity, you have like attack, colossal, warhammer, beast, jaw. This girl's not lived a great life, is what it sounds like. It sounds like Ymir Fritz has a pretty tragic backstory. And I know that's the big mystery, is the Ymir Fritz mystery of the foundation of all this. Don't spoil me, obviously, but I'm just getting the vibes that if that's what her soul is identified as, there's some trauma there. I'm just going to call it now. There's some trauma. And I'm pretty excited to get to it. So then Trungta noted, oh my God, the next 2 comments, these are all like horrifically sad, so brace your tissues. But Trungta noted that Moblit always called Hanji by their official title, except when he sacrificed himself to save them, and then he called them Hanji-san. The final thing Moblit ever called Hanji was by their name. No big deal. No tears shed over that. And then Nikia Wheeler added on to that sadness by saying, in a lot of ways, and I don't know if any of you have watched Banana Fish, the next 30 seconds are Banana Fishy spoilers, so just skip 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this. But commented how Ymir and Historia are kind of like Ash and Eiji. So just the tears were rolling this afternoon while I was reading that. I was like, wow, great, thanks. No, I thought that was really good, Nikki. I'm glad you pointed that out. But true story. And then finally, Simple Star pointed out this really crazy thing that we established last season, that if a Titan Shifter dies through cannibalism passing on their power, then its spirit will transport to an unborn Eldian, right? It'll transport to an unborn Eldian, and it could be anywhere, just an unborn Eldian. Could have been in Parody, could have been in Marley. So Simple Star pointed out that if that had happened in the past, the only way for them to know who the next Titan Shifter would literally be to go from home to home, like Moses style, and cut every baby and see which one healed itself. And I'm like, that's disturbing. Very Moses-esque. Like, we're going to just kill all the babies or hurt all the babies and figure out which one it is. So, thanks for that. But yeah, so lots of great comments in episodes 21 and the first episode of the series. It was great. I'm officially in love with this season. Several of you were like, man, if you like season 3 part 2, you'll probably like season 4. I'm really digging it so far. There's lots of stuff. And this last episode was like, we're just packing the grenade. Isayama's like, I'm setting all this stuff up. I'm packing the grenade. When's it going to go off? I'm planting the landmine when you go to step on it. And it's like, I'm really excited, if you couldn't tell, about this season. And I feel like every episode I watch, I'm going to be just hyped up. So hope y'all ready for that. But I poured myself some tea. I was like, it is time for this episode. So let's do this. We are going to start episode 3 of season 4, part 1. And we are going to start this episode in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. Where do I even start? Oh my god. Okay. I debated, it's cold here, and I debated wearing long sleeves because it's freezing, but then I was like, the last episode too, I was starting to sweat. My armpits are like drenched. I am soaked in sweat. My adrenaline is high. What was this episode? You can't take an episode called Door of Hope that sounds like, oh, nonchalant. Door of Hope, it's a nonchalant episode. It's gonna be no bad. No! What? I can't tell you. I cannot tell you. I'm sure my jaw was on the floor for most of that reaction because Isayama, Reiner! Oh my god. I was about to cry. If I go back and rewatch this, I may. Because I was about to cry. Because we finally, in one episode, got Reiner's backstory. And it is the most heartbreaking, horrible backstory that I think it's one of the worst backstories of our characters in this. And it's so heartbreaking because of the effect it's had on him now. Reiner, oh my god. Oh my god. Thank you all. Thank you all for not spoiling this. I feel like this is such a monumental development in this show with Reiner. And the connections and parallels between him and Eren, the motivation he has, it all makes sense. The personas, everything. Reiner is... The idea... We talked back in a recap. I don't know which recap it was. Maybe it was part 1 or part 2 of season 3. But we talked in a reaction or a recap, the idea that you tell lies to benefit yourself. And Reiner has been lying to himself this whole time. And connecting to Ymir, and about being honest with each other and ourselves, and Reiner's compassion, and Eren's speech. Eren's speech at the end! That's freaking Eren! So, when he started talking, I was listening, and I was like, I know this voice, but it was subdued. It was like a whisper, and I was like, who is this? And the moment you saw his eye, The moment you saw the eye, I was like, oh my God, that's Eren. And Kenny made a cameo. Kenny shows up like, surprise, bitch, you thought you saw the last of me? And that was it. I was like, what is happening in this episode? God, we're talking about Annie and everything, but the parallels with Eren and Reiner, and Eren's speech at the end, and him getting closer to Falco, Falco getting closer to both, Falco being like a method of salvation for Reiner about to shoot himself. So that it wouldn't have to go to Gabby or Falco. He was going to kill himself so that it would just go to somebody random. Oh my God, Isayama, why do you do this? Like, I didn't expect myself to start, like, I about cried about Erwin's death, but just seeing, like, where Reiner is in all of this, like, his headspace, and, like, all this trauma and depression Reiner's dealing through, and this, like, post-traumatic, and, oh my God. Oh, like, I'm tearing up just thinking about this episode. So, I was so floored by this episode. It answered, I have wanted to know, again, thank you all for not spoiling me. I've wanted to know since season 2, since we found out that Bertolt and Reiner, I've wanted to know since we found out that Annie was, God, a Titan. But I've wanted to know about Bertolt and Reiner since the beginning. I was like, what's their backstory? Like, them and Marcel. And it's always been hinted at in the show, like the season 3 part 1 ED where we see Marcel and all them traipsing through the woods and everything. It's all been leading up to this. And then you decide, Isayama, like last episode, we had all this preview about the festival and everything. I thought that's what we were going to do in this episode. I thought it was going to be about, okay, we're chugging along to the festival. No, this was an in-depth look into Reiner's soul and seeing how crushed he is. And how, oh God, the connection to Marcel. Galliard's a prick. Galliard's the worst. I don't like him at all in this. And I know there's going to be some Galliard fans that are like, you don't like Galliard? I'm like, no, he's a prick. And it makes sense why, but oh my God. Oh, so, damn. Wasn't walking into this episode expecting this at all. Nope. Wasn't expecting it at all. Wasn't expecting to nearly cry. Wasn't expecting this giant gut-wrenching story about Reiner. Wasn't expecting that. And it's funny that we have the tie of Eren and Reiner. So I've been saying this whole series that Eren and Reiner are going to be like antagonists against each other. But the reality is they should be the ones helping each other. They should be working together because Reiner and Eren have so much in common that it's so sad. They have so much in common. And they're enemies, but they really are striving towards kind of this. They have so much similarities. It's, oh my God. Okay, so we need to, I'm a mess. This episode is leaving me a mess. I'll just say that first and foremost. You expect me to rank these episodes already? What? I mean, I have to just poll Patreon for the recap for the first 16 episodes. Be like, you rank them. I may have to do that. I may have to be like, how about you rank them? And we'll just go from there. So, God, Eren and Reiner. I've got to get my wits about me because I'm like pumped up on it. I feel like this, it's fitting because episode 6 of season 2, Warrior, I have the same euphoric, like, adrenaline high that I did during Warrior, and it's a Reiner-centered episode there, too. So, God, and the actions he took in Warrior, his persona, his resolve. Okay. We're going to talk about this. I'm going to use green for Eren and brown for Braun. All right. God, I'm like, y'all don't even know, like, I am drenched in sweat. All right. So then we start out with the mom. The mom saying we were abandoned, talking about that, and that's why we live in a camp surrounded by walls. And yeah, because the blood of the devils runs through us. But that's why your father isn't here. So let's start out with that revelation that Reiner is half Marleyan, that he's not full Eldian. Let's start with that, shall we? So Reiner is half Marleyan, right? And at the time, in the episode, when we get that revelation, I was like, well, that explains the dual personalities. And I was like, ha ha ha. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Reiner already is dealing with a crisis of identity because he's half Marleyan. He can't fully relate. He's already dealing with an identity crisis, right? Interesting. I wonder if that has anything to do with him not being as strong as the other warrior candidates because he's half Marleyan. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. And they're like, he can't be with us Eldians. And she's so sad about it. She's like, if only we were Marleyan. And that gives Reiner his initial motivation. And I like lanterns. Again, I'm going to make a side note of everything in this episode that's brought up that's not Eren versus Reiner. But we have lanterns. They're back, bitch. They're back, baby. Lanterns 2.0. We get the light, the fire, and it's interesting because the lanterns in that first initial scene representing the spark igniting for Reiner. The spark igniting. That Reiner's like, okay, I'm half Marleyan. My mother wants us to all be together and be a family. So his initial resolve and motivation is to become a family. To become a full family, right? He thinks that if he becomes a Marleyan warrior, his mom will be able to move in with his dad and they'll be able to have a full family and that will make his mom happy. That's his initial motivation. Makes sense. The spark and the lantern. And then we cut instantly to the present and the lantern is out. The light is out. It's like Reiner's resolve is waning. It's gone. Like he doesn't have that spark anymore because he's afraid he's going to get eaten by Gabby and the whole cycle is going to go on over and over again. I also like that he's back to that same bedroom, but because it's his bed and because he's no longer like a 10-year-old and he's really tall, he's too tall for the bed. So his like feet are hanging over. He's like, I strove to be a warrior so we could be Marleyans. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. That was the whole initial idea behind it. God. And then we cut to them training. And so some of you noted, I forget exactly who noted it. Someone noted the idea that Magath is like the Marleyan equivalent of Keith Shaddis. Someone noted that Magath is kind of like the Marleyan version of Keith, which makes a lot of sense. He's in charge of all the cadets, the candidates, things like that. He's just he's a bystander, right? But he's, I think, a little bit more abrasive than Keith, right? You filthy seed of swine. And so we see all the Marleyan kids running. Don't you want to be honorary Marleyans? And we see all of them running and training, right? So it's interesting. It's a parallel to the cadets, right? You have the cadets training. You have the cadets training to become Survey Corps members, and you have the Marleyan, the candidates, right? So I'm going to put a note here about the candidate school, and I'm going to put for Eren a note about the cadets, because there's some similarities during that time period, right? Even though Eren is a little bit older during the cadets part than Reiner is here. So yeah, we see Reiner like leading the end of the pack. And so we come to the grasshopper. We'll talk about the grasshopper. But yeah, did you guys hear we're attacking Parody Island in just a few years? So we see Zeke. So in just a few years, we're attacking Parody Island. And Zeke's so happy about it. He's like, did you hear we're attacking the island in a couple of years? Isn't that fun? And Zeke's fairly older, right? He's older as he becomes. He's the Wonder Boy. He's kind of reminds me of, it's like Colt, right? So there's a comparison of Zeke to Colt in how they lead the children, right? The Beast Titan and Colt. So it's like maybe an older person needs to be inheriting the Beast Titan. Maybe there's something to that. But yeah, Zeke eating the apple and looking kind of like, he looks more like Dinah there than Grisha, but he's younger. So if we're looking back, I'm trying to think of the timeline here. Again, math, not my strong suit. But if we're looking back, okay, so 9 years ago was when Shiganshina was. And then this was probably a couple of years before that, so 11 or 12 years ago. So it was right before it was... Okay, so this was 12 years ago because it was right before Zeke and them became the Titans. It was right before they became the Titans. So they basically became Titans and had 2 years of training, essentially. So they had a couple years training before Parody, right? And that would all time out in the timeline because Zeke only has 1 year left. So if it was 12 years ago, that would make sense. And we'll say this was 12 years ago. Okay. So yeah. No big deal. No problems whatsoever. But yeah, and so we have there's 7 of them, the remaining 7, and they're all very distinct. And they're all surprised by this, and they're like, it's almost time for us to inherit Titans. And he says, he throws the apple to Marcel. Out of the 7 of us, they're picking 6. So that's curious. But they have 7, right? Right? But the Warhammer makes 7. So here's the deal. That's the interesting thing. So basically the 6 current Titan shifters aren't good enough. Or they're almost at so they said in a few years. So maybe they're realizing that the current Titan shifters are about to run out of their term. So they're going to make these guys become 6 of the 7 new Titan shifters, train them for a couple of years, let them get used to their powers, and then send them to parity. That would make sense. It would make sense why that's happening. I'm still curious how Zeke got involved in being a warrior candidate in all of this, especially with the whole thing with Grisha, but don't spoil me. I'm sure we'll find out, right? But yeah, okay. Or maybe Grisha wanted to become a candidate, or Zeke wanted to become a candidate. I keep calling Zeke Grisha because they look similar, but okay. No spoilers. We'll save Zeke for later. I'm sure we'll find out more as the season goes on, because Isayama's just like, here's more surprises. Here you go. But okay, so that makes sense. There were 7 of them, but the Warhammer doesn't go to enemy soil. So one of them is not. I imagine that the government was like, okay, we're gonna need new Titan shifters, like a new generation to replace the old ones. And we've established that the Tybers are very adamant about not leaving Marley. So I'm assuming that when the government came to the Tybers were like, we're not going. So they're like, no, we're not going. Bye. And we're like, we're not letting one of your people take our Titan. So makes sense. Okay, cool. That all makes sense. So out of the 7, 6 of them are going to get chosen. And I like that Bertolt's always been the tallest. And then there's Peek and Annie. And Annie's always off by herself. That's interesting. She's always kind of off by herself. Peek is right there in front. Closes. Peek and Zeke seem to have a very interesting relationship. Peek and Zeke seem to be close. Like, she trusts Zeke a lot. And because in every scene, even in the present time, Peek and Zeke have been kind of close together. And it makes sense now, back in season 3, that Zeke brought Peek with him. And she, like, helped him get the stuff for when they attacked Walshing and Sheena. All makes sense. I like that. I like that subtle establishment of their dynamic and their relationship. Like, Isayama just gives us little crumbs of it, but you can kind of piece it together. And then Marcel taking the apple from Zeke and eating it after him. I'm like, dude. And then there's Porco, who's called Porco Galliard, and then Reiner. And of all of them, with the exception of Peek, Reiner is the smallest. And so, yeah, Reiner's the smallest. And then Reiner's like, yes, I can finally be a Marleyan. And I like that in that moment, Galliard offers his brother the apple, and Reiner's so excited. And everybody kind of just looks at him. Except for Galliard, he's a little shit. He's like, why are you so excited? If anyone's the worst, it's you. Uh-huh. And he's like, excuse me? And then, man, Galliard's a prick. If you like Galliard, I'm sorry. But Galliard, he's mean. He's a bully. He's a mean bully in this. He's got the jaw, right? The jabber jaw. He takes the apple from Marcel, and he's like, look. He's like, you're the worst of us. And I like that he points out, I dropped my marker. I like that he points out, he says, what's your strong point? And Reiner's like, huh? And Galliard's like, your strength, your brains, your aim, your combat ability. So he points out the strengths that they have. And the strengths that he has, he talks about, he says, your strength, your brains, your aim, your combat ability. Reiner apparently is not the best in any of those. And at that point, when he starts talking down to Reiner, Annie looks off, I'm assuming to see the grasshopper. Like, she doesn't want to be part of the conversation. Annie, like, kind of just removes herself. He says, no, the only value they see in you is your loyalty to Marley. That you're a yes man. So, yeah. So, Galliard, according to Galliard, he is the worst. And his only thing is his loyalty and resolve. Funny that, because we all know from season 1 that Eren's whole thing is that he's not special and that his main thing is his loyalty and resolve to the cause. It's almost like they have very similar characters. And so poor Reiner, he's like, yeah. And then Galliard mocks him. He says, I'll slaughter the island devils. Real good for you, sir. Which is just, and then you go back and you think of Eren getting made fun of because he's like, I'll kill all the Titans. It's the same thing. They're both called out for the same thing. And yeah, and Reiner gets mad at him. And Reiner in this moment, like, it's a defense mechanism. But he's like, are you making fun of our mission? Or maybe you're a stray restorationist. So the term restorationist has not died out. Like, it's been probably like 5 or 6 years since Grisha left and the restorationists were absolved, supposedly, but a stray restorationist, hinting that there's other restorationists still maybe around. And so Reiner wanting to be completely loyal to Marley. And so he calls Galliard out, like saying, are you making fun of the mission? And that's not exactly what Galliard's doing. Galliard's not making fun of the mission. He's making fun of you. But Galliard's like, what are you talking about? And Reiner's like, I'll report you to the commander. And he kind of does the same thing that he does to Falco in the last episode. He's like, are you talking down? That all makes sense too. Like, his attitude shift. He's like, are you talking down to Marley? Like, I'll report you. If I report you, then you'll die. And Zeke's like, oh God. And you see Zeke being like, are we really doing this? And he's like, report this, you little shit. And then he just punches Reiner and Marcel stops him. And he says, hating the island doesn't make you special. So saying that your resolve isn't enough. Your loyalty isn't enough. You're not special because of it. You have to have some type of ability. And saying that Reiner is the worst of the 7 of them. God. Oh my God. And so then, yeah, have fun waiting 13 years alone. Suggesting that Reiner's going to wait for them for 13 years in the candidate program while they're off being Titan shifters, and maybe after they do whatever, he'll become a Titan shifter himself, but he's not going to be chosen of the 7. And then, yeah, Marcel breaks it up and he walks off, and Zeke says, let's go, Peak. Don't cry for too long or the commander will chew me out. So yeah, so Zeke and Peak seem pretty close, which is interesting. Very interesting. I wonder if like Zeke has a special reason why he's so nice to Peak, or if there's something to it. But yeah, so the only ones that stick around with him are Bertolt and Annie. And Marcel says, I'm sorry. So it seems like Marcel is really close to Reiner and wants to keep him safe. And that's so crazy that Marcel really cared about him, that he cared about Reiner and didn't want him to get hurt. But Galliard's his brother, so he's obligated to go after his brother. And Bertolt tells him to stand up as Reiner's about to cry. And then Reiner's like, I'm going to become a Marleyan so I can go live with my mom and dad. Like, he's like, I can't wait 13 years. But I'm the worst, like he said. And Bertolt tries to cheer him up in a sense. He's like, well, Porco doesn't make the decision, right? And loyalty is important. He's like, so don't listen to him. It's okay. And he tries to tell Annie, he's like, right, Annie? Like, you gonna back me up on this? And Annie was seemingly not paying attention. She was killing the grasshopper instead. And they both notice it. But I mean, the thing of it is, she was probably upset that that Reiner, because her and Reiner, we find out they have similar goals too, right? Put Annie in on this. I'm going to tie Annie into this whole jamboree. Annie's thing, her and Reiner are similar because they just want to be with their family. They just want their family and hometown. Right? Which connects back up to Eren, because Eren, after the Shiganshina attack, just wants to avenge his family and his home. Because, you know, that's how this show works. And so Bertolt's like, you really want that as your goal. 13 years is all you get. 13 years to be a hero. Oh my gosh, that line, 13 years to be a hero. Because, yeah, I mean, Bertolt's not wrong in that moment. Bertolt's like, yeah, it's a fine goal that you want your family to be together. He's like, but by becoming a warrior, you are limiting your life to 13 years. So, you know, is that goal feasible? And is that really what you want? And Reiner's like, I get to be a hero, though. And I get to make my mom proud. And unite her and my dad back together so that they can be together because of me. And it's like, oh my God. And so just that idea, if I crush the devils on parody, I'll save the world. And that idea, if saving the world, being the hero, that was Eren's whole resolve too. Eren's like, if I kill all the Titans, I'll save humanity. I'll save the world. And Reiner's like, if I kill the people in parody, I'll save the world. It's like they both, they're such parallels of each other. It's insanity. I'm like, oh my God. Then my parents will be proud to have me as a son. Now there is a little distinction. There's a little difference there because at this point, Eren's mom is dead and he doesn't know where his dad is throughout most of this whole past up until Sin, up until that episode. So there is a little distinction there. Reiner, his whole goal is also tied into his parents being proud, right? Eren's is not really tied to his parents being proud because his mom's dead and his dad's nowhere to be found. So there's not really, that angle is Reiner's own thing. Eren doesn't really have that going for him. And then, oh my God, the contrast, the parallel of at that exact same moment in time, at that exact same moment that Reiner was talking about being a hero, we cut to Eren sitting in front of the walls, like bored, and Armin showing up with the book. And it's almost like, and they're both like, it's the two walls paralleled. You have the walls of the internment zone, and you have the walls of parody, and they're on either side of it. And it's like both of their, in that moment, oh my God, and it's Armin and Eren and Bertolt and Reiner. Gah! You have two dreams being born at the same time. You have Reiner's dream of becoming a hero to make his parents proud and whole again, happening at the exact same time. And while he's standing next to Bertolt, who will become the Colossal Titan, happening at the exact same time that Armin is showing Eren the book of the ocean and then what's beyond the sea, starting his dream of freedom alongside Armin, who will become the Colossal Titan. Just, Isayama, you madman. You absolute madman. How dare you? And that's all in the opening. Like, we just got to the opening. This episode's insanity. It's pure insanity. I feel like this whole season is going to be pure insanity, but this episode, what? I feel like now, the first two episodes were just Isayama casually, like, testing the waters and just putting us in a boat and slowly kicking us off to sea, being like, hey, here's season 4. This is kind of what it's like. Hope you're ready. And, oh, by the way, there's like a hurricane coming, but it's fine. You've probably got this. I'm like, ah! Because, yeah, this whole episode, while this OP is going, this whole episode is setting up just not only Reiner's whole issues, but also setting up Eren's resolve, his whole, like, how his mission has changed and what's going on with Eren. And again, we're all, the grenade is getting packed tighter because we're getting ready for this damn festival. Okay. But yeah, I'm going to skip through the rest of this OP. Just sheer insanity. I did want to pause it though at the while I'm here at this OP, the image of Eren with the Colossal Titan, or what I think of it. So I want to pause it right here. Okay, so we have all these like Titan, it's going up into the marble and everything. But there's Eren leaning out, reaching his arm out. There is a big Titan there. There are like Titan faces and everything shifted in that. And there's a Titan nearby. I want to see what it is. Okay. And it looks like, I don't know if that's Reiner and Reese or Reiner and Bertolt, what that is. But there's other Titans and then Eren's at the forefront. Interesting. Interesting. It's probably one of those, this is probably one of those OPs that as it goes on, the context of the spoilers will become known. And I'm like, oh, okay. Door of Hope. So I'm going to talk about that. I want to think about that title. Door of Hope. Okay. I'm going to keep that out to the sidelines. I feel like it's going to relate to Eren's speech at the end, but we need to get to that. We need to get to that point first, right? Holy crap. Okay. Okay. It was a pretty long intro. So yeah, marvelous. Even better than we expected. So basically, they turned these kids into Titan shifters and then demolished a country to see if they could do anything. And it was even better than they expected. Wonderful, wonderful. And I like the kind of case files that we got on all of them. It's interesting with the case files that we got. They totally decimated this other country. Like reduced it to rubble. So that makes me wonder why they were so cautious at Shiganshina. But also, there's the whole thing about the Titans and the walls. They couldn't destroy the walls. They were a lot more cautious at Shiganshina for multiple reasons. Now we know because it was just the three of them and they were dealing with that trauma of losing Marcel, which got expanded on finally. We'll get to that. But so there was that factor. There was the factor that the Marleyan research had told them that there were Titans within the walls and the Founding Titan could activate them and use them against them. So don't destroy the walls. So they had to be somewhat careful. And then they needed to find the Founding Titan. So the problem is you don't want to decimate everything like they decimated the city, because if you just destroy every single thing, what if you accidentally kill the Founding Titan and it goes to somebody random and you've got to now search for the Founding Titan all over again? That makes a lot of sense. So this was just for them to test out their strengths and prove that they could work as a group and be put on the mission. But they clearly weren't going to use all that destructive power when they got to Shiganshina because of the obvious factors in the way. I do like the way that the show does the whole case files. The female Titan. Versatility is its biggest strength. A woman multitasking? Say what? Are you sure? Are you sure? So, okay, the female Titan, we get established on here, the way they talk about them. The female Titan is about versatility. All right. Makes sense. Versatility is the female Titan's biggest strength, which kind of connects to Annie. It says, on top of its mobility and endurance, its hardened strikes are destructive. So also mobility and endurance. And it has hardened strikes. Okay, so the hardened strikes were part of it to begin with. Good to know. Good to get confirmation of that. Yeah, so that ties really good to Annie's personality. She's using all the combat experience that her father gave her. Yep, the range is limited, but it can cause... Man, female Titan's got a lot of things going for it, right? There's a lot of things that the female Titan can do. It's a shame she's been put out of commission for 3 seasons. You know. It's a shame. So the drawback is that range is limited. That's her only drawback. She's only got so much range, but can call the pure Titans. Okay. Makes sense. Cool. Yeah, shame she's been out of commission for 3 seasons. So yeah, we've got that. Leonhardt is perfect. And it's they're like mug shots. That's the weird thing. These are like mug shots of them as kids. It's kind of bizarre. And then the armored Titan specializes in hardening. And we have all this. So, and poor Reiner, he looks so shell-shocked. But yeah, armored. So it's hardening. They establish it's a shield, essentially, right? Okay. It charges at full speed, and any gates of any wall will crumble. It can, as Marley's shield that must withstand attacks, it suits Braun's perseverance. Yeah, it makes sense why Braun is the armor titan. He's the persevering one. And I'm assuming these mugshots were taken either right before or right after they became the Titan Shifters. Yeah. So then we have the Jaw Titan. The Jaw Titan is an assault weapon, basically. It's an assault weapon. And yeah, I like that we established that the Jaw Titan, its hair changed too. So this one has Marcel's red hair instead of Galliard's blonde hair. I'm also going to put down for Reiner about the perseverance, because that's tied to his character. All right. It's as speedy as it is small, with claws and jaws that nearly crush everything. So it's all about assault and speed. It's quick, it's nimble, it gets things done, right? Okay, and then, yeah, it crushes things. Entrusted to the quick-witted Marcel. And so the quick wit. And Marcel kind of has that leaderly quality to him, right? He's like a leader. And then the Beast Titan is as potent as ever. Okay, so then we have the Beast Titan that is potent. Okay. And though slightly larger than the other Titans, its throwing technique is dreadful. So it's all about throwing too. It's got that baseball throw. And one of you noted that baseball had been created around the 1800s, which would kind of mirror, it would be known in this world too around that time. Interesting. His blood seems to have hidden power. So the question is, and don't answer me on this one, but the question is it the blood of the Beast Titan in general has hidden power, or is it the fact that Zeke as the Beast Titan has hidden power in the blood? That's the question. I wonder if Zeke knows that he's royalty, if he knows that he's royalty, and the Marleyan government doesn't know, if Zeke made up a lie and was like, oh yeah, the Beast Titan, I've unlocked its full potential. And the Marleyan government's like, oh cool, yay. That's what we don't know. And don't spoil me, but that's what we don't know, right? We don't know exactly what all he knows. Okay. And then they don't say anything about Zeke being a prime candidate, right? They said that Marcel's quick-witted, so he's perfect as a Jaw. Annie has all these like endurance and mobility and versatility qualities, which makes her good for the female Titan. And Reiner has perseverance, so he's good for the armor Titan. They don't say anything about Zeke. Nah. He's the Wonder Boy, but we don't give any commentary about him. And then the Cart Titan has outstanding endurance for long missions. So yeah, we have the Cart Titan that has endurance for long missions. Because yeah, they established that she had been in that Titan form for 2 months straight and had not been in human form for that long. So that explains her point there. Okay. And then they established that they don't really say anything about, well, yeah, it can be outfitted with different equipment to extend its usefulness. So it can also, like, it has the ability to get special features. So it can accessorize, right? Accessorization. If Marley had action figures, the Cart Titan would be the biggest seller because you could get all the accessories. Peak's superior judgment will serve well. And so Peak has good judgment. Peak also seems like she's like the most chill of the group, like the most reserved. Her dad seems like he's not in good health. So it seems like she just wants to become a Titan shifter to help her father like stay healthy and get better health care. I could see that being the reason why. And then the Colossal Titan. Yep. Basically. And it shows Bertolt cutting his finger. And he's able to turn into Colossal Titan. And it's just like a nuke went off. A god of destruction. Yep, okay. That's all they need to say. A god of destruction. And we'll give it to the calmest one of the group. The most calm-minded. Hoover will be able to handle it. And you've given that power to Armin now. So fun times. Fun times. Hoover will be able to handle it. I feel bad for those island devils. One day that's going to show up to kill them. Damn. This new warrior unit. Okay, so McGath. Let's talk back about McGath here. McGath making some interesting notes. And I like that the comparison of McGath as the Marleyan version of Keith, because he kind of has the sunken dead eyes like Keith does. It's a pretty good comparison. But McGath says this warrior unit may outperform their predecessors. Okay? But I question the military's decision. Sending children to retake the founding titan sounds insane. Thank you! I've been saying that since season 2. That the idea of sending children in the roles of these insane... We've made these children, these 12-year-old kids, into bombs, into nuclear devices, into Holocaust starters. Doesn't that seem like it's crazy? McGath's like, am I the only one thinking this? Yeah, I like that he questions this. And the other guy says, you think? Didn't those children just crush a nation before our eyes? Mm-hmm. And it shows Bertolt screaming as the Colossal Titan. So, but that's the thing. I don't think McGath was questioning the ability of the kids to perform as Titan shifters. Nah, they crushed an entire nation just by themselves. The 6 of them. That's not the point. I think McGath was getting to the point of these kids mentally and emotionally, are we really going to send them off to a faraway island to take care of all this and think they're going to get the job done without any problems? Okay. Right? So then we cut back to after, I'm assuming in the aftermath of them crushing that city or nation, and Galliard's saying it's messed up. Why was the worst of us chosen? And Reiner is he's like, what did you do? And Reiner's all smug in this moment. Like he's really proud and shoving it in Galliard's face. And his expression is one that's very current Reiner. He looks a lot more mature. And he's like, it seems you're the worst. That's all there is to it, Pock. And it's like why Pock hates that name. Mm-hmm. And he's like, and yeah, Reiner's so cocky. Reiner's like, I got chosen. I'm a Titan shifter now. I have all this power. You're nothing, Pock. Like, it's kind of like when a kid gets bullied and then he gets a taste of the power and Reiner's just shoving it right back in Galliard's face. He's like, well, now you're the worst. You have to wait 13 years. Mm-hmm. And then Marco's like, Porco, are you sure you want to defy the brass? Like, don't defy him. And then Galliard is just... He's really sad because he didn't get chosen. But here's the thing about Galliard. Here's the thing about Galliard. And I'm going to defend Galliard on this. Right? Because I'm sure that Galliard's thing... We tie back to the last episode when Galliard was really mad at Reiner. Here's the thing. Galliard will not be with Marcel now. That's probably part of his thing. Part of Galliard's moment, because he kind of collapses to his feet then. Part of Galliard's thing is that it's so twisted because we think that Galliard cares for Reiner and wants to keep him safe, but we find out later, no, that's not the case. He wanted to keep, by him, he wanted to keep Galliard safe. Marcel did. Not Reiner. No, he was using Reiner. We're going to talk about that. But, Galliard, him and Marcel are brothers. And so I'm sure they all know that they only have 13 years alive as Titan shifters. And so I'm sure Marcel and Galliard were like, no, it's fine. We'll both become Titan shifters and we'll go out together as brothers. But Reiner messed all that up. So now Galliard doesn't get that opportunity, and he probably won't get that opportunity. If they're assuming the mission goes well, Galliard will not have that opportunity until Marcel dies. So he's going to live on without his brother. So, of course, he's probably heartbroken about that, right? So that ties to the last episode when he was pissed off at Reiner and doesn't like Reiner. This whole flashback makes it abundantly clear why Galliard does not like Reiner. It all ties together. And Reiner's like adjusting his collar like, you know. And then Marcel's like, Reiner, I'm sorry. And that's the first time we get the hints of maybe Marcel didn't defend Reiner earlier to keep him safe. No. Marcel's feeling bad because he made Reiner become the armored titan to keep Galliard safe. Which, funny that, it didn't end up working. It didn't end up working. He ended up becoming Titan Shifter anyway. But now we kind of see where Reiner has become Marcel. We'll talk about this later, but Reiner wanting to become Marcel, he kind of has, in a sense. Marcel wanted Reiner to become the Armored Titan to save his brother, and now Reiner wants Falco to become the Armored Titan to save his cousin. It's the parallels. It's the exact same thing, right? And we'll talk about Reiner becoming Marcel. God, that's messed up. But you know what else is messed up? This whole parade. They're like parading these kids around in this chariot before they go off to like commit mass genocide. They're like, okay, guys, have fun, kids. And there's like confetti and everybody's cheering them on like they're celebrities. And they're like out the window, like cheering. And they're so happy for them. And then Reiner sees his mom in the crowd. And he's like happy for his mother. And he sees his dad walk off. Okay, so I'm assuming that this whole flashback with his father, that moment where he confronted his father, took place it probably took place before or after the parade. But yeah, his mom being proud of him, but then Reiner confronting his actual dad. Well, that's a fun time. He says, it's you, right? Mom used to work in the barracks before I was born. Yep. That's where you met her, Karina Braun. So we don't know actually what his father's real name is. We don't know what Reiner's name should have been. And he's like, look at that. Mom and I are honorary Marlians. And he's trying to say, like, we can all live together. And the dad says, bloody hell. He's like, did that woman send you here to get revenge on me? And the guy, he has Reiner's eyes, but nothing else is like Reiner. Reiner just has his father's eyes. He says, now her kid's a warrior. If they find out where you're from, my family is screwed. You're going to get me hanged, and I'm running the hell away. Get away from you and your damn Eldian mother. Like, all Reiner wanted he started this whole program. He started this whole candidate program so that his family could become whole again. And in this moment, to make his parents proud, in this moment that he's going to become a proud Marleyan warrior to make his father and mother proud of him. His mother's proud of him. But it's under the guise of a lie, right? Because he realizes in this moment that his father isn't proud of him. His father's terrified of him. And now his father's like, oh my God, if they find out that I'm related to you all, then my family's screwed. He's like, I'll get hanged. And there's that realization that that's why he's ran away. He doesn't want anything wrong. He doesn't want anything to do with them, not to protect him and his mom, but to protect himself. The dad's like, I don't care about you and your mom, but I want to protect myself and my family, so I want nothing to do with you. That's so damn tragic. And then he gets snapped out into the moment. He gets snapped back into the moment. So he clearly saw his father earlier before the parade, and the mother's like, I'll be waiting for you. And then Reiner's no longer waving, and he says, that's right, even without a father, I'm still the chosen warrior of the Armored Titan. But you can tell that that's done a serious blow to him, that part of his dream that he like started as a child, his dream was like shattered in that moment. And it's kind of, again, paralleling Eren, that as he's getting shipped off to Shiganshina, it's like realizing that that part of his family is like crumbled, and it's kind of mirroring what happens with Eren and his family crumbling. Yep. And so I'll save everyone from the island devils and be the world's hero. So he tells himself, he's like, well, so Reiner's had several dreams, right? So he's had the dream of making his family whole, right? And he realizes that's not going to happen. And so then he has the idea that he'll become the world's hero. That's the new dream, right? As they go off, and they have horses and everything, and they go off across the land through the deserts, and then they make camp. And we didn't cover much ground tonight. We can't do much about the clouds, so they can't see where they're going. And so Bertolt questions. Bertolt's like, will the king really not use the founding titan even if we break the wall. So I like that they're thinking about this. Like, I've wanted to see this since season 2. I've wanted to see them going towards Shiganshina and the whole backstory, and we're finally getting it. And I like that Bertolt's actually questioning this. He's thinking about it. Like, what do we do? And then Reiner again. Reiner has to fall back on trust. Reiner is at this point, he can't trust his family for that dream happening. So Reiner is just like, trust the system. Reiner has to have a system in place because Reiner's whole resolve is crumbling around him. And he's like, no, we have to believe in the system. He's like, I need some form of stability to keep myself afloat mentally. And so we need to trust the system. That just trust in what's going on and it'll all work out, right? Because he's like a yes man, right? And then Marcel's like, we can't turn back. Tomorrow we reach the wall. And then they're like, and when he says and then, they all are kind of thinking about this. And they're kids. They're 12-year-old kids. All 3 of them are thinking about what they're about to do. And I like this. I like that they're reflecting. They're like, we are about to commit genocide. We are about to kill a lot of people to find this founding titan. And they're all just like, they're somber about it because who wouldn't be, right? That's your shred of humanity in you, right? And Reiner, because he's trying to put up a front and be strong, because he's trying to keep his mental state together, is like, well, are you having second thoughts? No, you can't have second thoughts. We got to go through with the mission. He's like, and he goes back to what his mother told him. He's like, have you forgotten what they've done? We're the world's chosen warriors sent to punish the island devils. Like, we're the chosen ones. And Marcel's like, yeah, but don't you see what that means? And Reiner, his mother's given him the whole spiel about everything that he's falling back on. And it makes sense why Reiner's falling back on that, because if he doesn't, it would mean that his mother was a liar, that his mother was wrong, that she was unfounded. And for Reiner, his mother's all he's got. So he doesn't want her proven wrong. So it all makes sense. And Marcel's just not, he's sad about it. And he tells Reiner again, I'm sorry. And that's when Marcel confesses. God, Marcel confesses that you were never meant to be chosen as a warrior. And you can tell Marcel feels so much guilt because he's drugged Reiner into all of this when he didn't have to be. Reiner was going to get away and not be chosen as a warrior. And Marcel made sure that it actually happened. He said, you were never meant to be chosen as a warrior. And Annie and Bertolt are like, what? He's like, I talked you up and criticized my brother to influence their decision. He's like, I made them pick you, basically. Because, and Reiner's like, excuse me? He's like, I just wanted to protect my brother. And Marcel's like about to cry. Yeah. So he talked him up, talked Reiner up, got him to pick Reiner instead. Not because Reiner was worthy, but because Marcel wanted to save Galliard from his fate. Yep. So that's a bombshell. So again, there's another blow to Reiner's whole mental state, because finding out that your whole dream of becoming the world's hero, you weren't chosen because of your ability or because you earned it. You were chosen because Marcel talked you up and went behind your back and talked up the brass to make it happen. It's kind of paralleling Eren too, in a sense, because Reiner finds out in this moment that he wasn't chosen because of himself. He was chosen by means outside of his control. It wasn't his own earning that got him the power of the Armored Titan. It was Marcel making the choice for him. Eren did not get the power of the Attack Titan by himself. It was because Grisha sacrificed himself and made Eren eat him that gave him that power. So you have two guys in this case that have these amazing abilities, but both of them realize at some point that they didn't naturally earn those abilities. They were given to them outside of their own control. Again, the parallels, the sheer parallels. Yeah, and he's like, I'm sorry, Reiner. He's like, I've made you suffer and I've shortened your lifespan. And it was not to help you, but to save my own brother. And Reiner just, and then it shows Reiner just completely sad and broken. And then the next morning, he's like, why are you apologizing? And as Reiner's like sitting there stewing over it, that's when Ymir wakes up. That's when Ymir wakes up, and that's when Marcel dives in to save him. And Marcel, at this point, you could also argue that Marcel was feeling so guilty about putting Reiner into that's one of the reasons he jumped in the way. To save Reiner out of his guilt. So, Reiner's also got the fact that he may have caused Marcel's death. Inadvertently. Or Marcel caused his own death, you know, however you want to look at it. And then, God, I'm glad they didn't show us him actually getting eaten, but they kind of pretty much did. And then we see Reiner and them going back up against the tree and just throwing up. I mean, what else could you do? He ran so hard that he threw up. And he thinks in that moment that Bertolt and Annie are gone too. He thinks that they were eaten too and that it was all his fault. God. And I feel so bad for Reiner in this moment where he's just having a mental breakdown. He's a 12-year-old kid having a mental breakdown. A legitimate earned mental breakdown. He's like, they were all eaten. I'm going to be next. This is where I'm going to die, away from my mother, away from my hometown. And that's when Annie kicks him. And there's nothing more pitiful and heartbreaking than the screams that child Reiner gives as Annie kicks him away. And he's like holding his arms out like, stop. Like he's expecting to die in that moment. Like he's so terrified. And Annie's like, you really are the worst. And Annie's like, not bad. This is a first. You actually beat me in a long distance race. Like they all outran. And then Annie's like, if we took out that Titan, we wouldn't have lost Jaw. But we ran away instead. Mm-hmm. And now Marco's gone for good. Marcel's gone for good. And she's like lamenting that. And then Reiner's like, they said there wouldn't be Titans out this far. Well, Ymir's like, surprise! Didn't expect me! You know, in other words, Marley kind of caused their own damage, you know, by turning into a Titan to begin with. But yeah. Mm-hmm. And Annie's like, we gotta go home. I think this is fascinating that Annie is constantly just wanting to give up and leave. Annie at many times during this, like multiple times, wants to give up and leave. That's the thing. She like 2 or 3 times. She wants to do it while they're during the cadets training. She wants to do it like when they're in Shiganshina. She wants to give up and go home. She's just like, nope, don't see the point. And Reiner's like, huh? And she's like, let's find Jaw and leave. They would have changed back to a human. So besides, without Marcel to leave, the mission is doomed. So Marcel was the leader of the group. It seems like Marcel was the older one of them. Like maybe he was 14 or 15 when he was changed. So maybe he was the older leader. Because Galliard seems like he's the same age as Reiner and them. Like he's 12 or 13. And maybe Marcel is like 14 or 15. But Annie's like, without Marcel, the mission's doomed. Girl has some good foresight there, I'm just gonna say. But Reiner can't accept that. And Bertolt, because he's with Annie, Bertolt's gonna go with Annie. Because he likes her, right? And Reiner's like, wait! Oh my God, he says wait again! I swear, if Reiner dies this season and his last word is wait, I will scream. Don't spoil me. But he says wait, and that ties back that trigger. Oh my God, it ties back to that trigger with him. He's like, we can't leave. He's like, we can't go home. We have to continue the mission. Like they just started. And she's like, oh yeah, I know why you don't want to go back, because if we go back, you'll be eaten by the next warrior. And he's like, and he gulps, and she's like, not that I give a shit. She's like, but you think, and then Reiner counters, he's like, you think only I will? Like Reiner's defense mechanism, it's back to that whole Galliard thing where Reiner's like, when Reiner gets put on the defensive, he tries to like push it onto others, right? He tries to push the guilt and the shame and the pain onto others when he's under pressure, right? It's like a defense mechanism. But Annie's like, no, we go back now, we leave, We go get the Jaw Titan, we take it back, and we regroup and figure out what to do now. Like, the mission was a failure. Let's just chalk it up and go before things get worse. And Reiner's like, no. He's like, you think that I'll get the blame for running away? He's like, no, you guys will probably get eaten too. So we can't leave. Like, he's doing it to try to gaslight them into staying. And he's like, catching the Jaw Titan won't be easy. If they use its power and ran, our Titans can never catch up. Suggesting that, yeah, the Jaw Titan is faster than all of them. And Bertolt makes the comment. Bertolt says that they can't control it right after becoming it. Which we've speculated with Armin and everything. But Reiner says, you controlled the Colossal Titan, no problem. And that shuts Bertolt up really quick. So, even though everybody was like, oh, it may take a couple years for Armin to gain the power of the Colossal Titan and use it, Bertolt apparently gained it really quickly. So, who knows? But Reiner's like, we're doomed at this rate. And without the Founding Titan, there's no going home. And Annie's like, she's like, back there, if you were a fraction as calm as you are now, then Marcel wouldn't have died. She's like, we wouldn't have lost Marcel or Jaw. Like you're too little too late is what she's suggesting. But you've got no problem intimidating us to save your own ass, right? Yeah, she's like, you're gaslighting. You're going to try to make yourself look intimidating so that you can save yourself. And then she just beats the shit out of him. Just beats him. And she's like, you going to come clean to McGath and tell him it's all my fault? And Annie, seeing Annie display this much emotion is kind of insane. Because Annie's never displayed this much emotion. But she does. Yep, and she beats the tar out of him. Like, Levi would be proud of you, Annie. She goes all Levi on it. And again, holy cow, yeah. So, again, Reiner getting the crap beat out of him by Annie. Eren getting the crap beat out of him by Levi. Parallels, right? Yeah, Levi would be proud of this ass kicking that Annie gives out. She's like, honorary Marleyan my ass. Chosen warrior my ass. Marleyan, Eldians, they're all liars. Everyone only thinks about themselves. Annie knows what's up. She's like, it doesn't matter. She's like, everyone is just out for themselves. And that's so funny because it kind of ties to her character throughout season 1 because Annie was kind of all by herself. She kind of has like I almost wish that Annie and Ymir could have had more screen time together. They really didn't have any screen time together. I kind of wish Annie and Ymir had conversations because I feel like Ymir and Annie could have maybe gotten along or at least had some interesting convos because Annie's suggesting everybody's only out for themselves. And that kind of ties back to Ymir when she changed back into a human. She's like, I'm not going to lie to myself anymore. I'm going to live for myself and be honest with myself. So she's kind of the antithesis of Annie in a way. Annie's like, everybody's only lying and thinking about themselves. And Ymir's like, I'm being honest and thinking about myself. So it's like, it's an interesting duality there. But yeah, Annie's like, everybody's just out for what they want. And she's like, I'm no different. I've got to get home alive. If you feel guilty, then just die. Take all the blame and die. Oh, and Bertolt doesn't stop her. He just lets her waylay him. So Annie's like, yeah, I got to get back to my hometown and see my dad. So this is your fault, so you take the blame and go. But don't lump me into your mess. Man, seeing Annie just waylay on him, it's kind of insane. And Bertolt like is about to cry. And then, yeah, no, Reiner. And she's about to cry too, but Reiner gets back up. Reiner, if anything, perseveres. And he jumps on her. And he puts her in a chokehold and he says, Reiner is dead. If we need Marcel, then I'll be Marcel. Oh my God. And Bertolt's like, just stop. He's like, this is the only way we'll be able to go back home. Let's go back together to our hometown. God. And then, yeah, he chokes her out and convinces her to do it. God, knowing all this before episode 1 even happened, it's like, it's a whole new perspective on everything. As this whole season has been, as season 3 and season 4 has been. It's a whole new perspective, right? So he's like, Reiner is dead. So as far as he knows, Reiner, the old Reiner, is dead. Man. And that's when we get the two personas. We have the soldier and the warrior. We have Reiner and Marcel. The leader, the coward, and the leader. God, it's Isayama. What are you doing? But yeah, knowing all this, knowing all the drama and turmoil that was going on before we even started episode 1. And speaking of minds being blown, let's go back to this. So we cut back to episode 1. We have our two trios. We have Armin, Mikasa, and Eren watching as Bertolt towers over them and destroying the walls and everything. And as the Colossal Titan is disintegrating, Bertolt, he slides out, and you can see, his face is, disintegrating. He's, sliding out of the Colossal Titan. And then there's frickin' Dinah. And she just walks right past him. And he's like, huh? She was going after Grisha. She's walked all this way, and she was going to find Grisha to his house. Oh my God. Ah! And so, yeah. And then we get to Reiner's internal monologue. He's like, I wanted to be a warrior. I thought I could make my mom's wish come true and we'd live with my father. Well, that didn't happen. Nope. But I had a father who didn't want any part of us. So my mom had a dream she knew would never come true. So yeah, he's self-aware. He's like, my father wanted nothing to do with us. So my mom's dream, she knew it was never going to come true, but she just couldn't tell me that because I was her son and she didn't want to crush my spirits. And so then Reiner's like, I should never have been chosen. I should have died today. But that didn't happen. Why did he apologize? Why did he save someone like me? Like Reiner's self-loathing, that whole question of why was I saved? Why was I worth it? Damn. And seeing inside God, and this puts a new perspective on episode 1 and episode 2 as well, because especially episode 2, because you see inside the Colossal Titan as it's hitting the gate, this tiny child, this 12-year-old Reiner. Oh my God. Like just going through all this mental dilemma and just going through the walls and everything, not even paying attention. I'm not ready for this to end. I still don't understand anything. And that mirrors Eren. Because Eren, when Eren was inside the belly of the Santa Claus Titan, he's like, I still don't know. I'm not ready to go yet. And then Annie wakes up. It's like one of the rare times we see Annie with her hair down. And they're inside the bunker. And she says, where is this? And they're like inside Walrose. And then Annie sees Armin and Eren and Mikasa over there by themselves. Holy shit. Just. Why not? And then Reiner says Annie and Bertolt, and he brings them together and says, I'm sorry. Marcel, I'll be the warrior I should have been. Oh my God. So you have these two, you have in this moment inside Walrose, Eren and Mikasa and Armin like battered and they're everything crushed around them. And you have Reiner getting his resolve back again, not only to be the world's hero, but to make Marcel not die in vain. To become like Marcel, to be the warrior that Marcel was. And then we cut to Keith and the cadets. He says, why the hell did you come here for? And he says, to save humanity. To save humanity. Which, from Reiner's perspective, he's not lying. That's the soldier persona. He's not lying. He wanted to be a hero and save the world. It's just his world he wanted to save. Okay, so, Jesus, where are we at? We're an hour in and we're halfway through the episode. It's fine. Information available for public disclosure. Warrior candidates. A unit of child soldiers consisting of Eldian devils. Under command of the Marley army, they undergo harsh training and are selected based on their grades, skills, behavior, personality, and devotion to Marley. Very similar to the cadets, right? The cadets, the top cadets that went to the military police were chosen for similar reasons. So then we get, as only Eldian devils can inherit the 9 Titans, the existence of Eldians is crucial for the defense of Marley. As such, Eldians selected to become warriors are granted honorary Marleyan status along with their immediate family. So we have 7 people in the diagram here. There's 7 shadows. Well, that would be Zeke and... Okay, yeah. I was thinking of the Warhammer being in this image, but they're not yet. We don't get to see them. Man, Isayama building up the suspense with this Warhammer. Let me tell you, building it up. No worries. Yep. So then we cut straight from that to the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man. Holy crap. And that's where Bertolt got his story from. I lived in Walmaria in the southeast mountains. And it happened at dawn. The animals were all stirred up and I heard a strange rumbling. And I love that it's snowing as he's telling him this story. Thinking it was footsteps, I opened the window. And the rest is a blur, but I ran away on my horse. So it's funny because when we go back to episode 3, we get that same image of the window being opened, but Bertolt has inserted himself into the story, right? Bertolt's inserted himself into the story and made it about him. So that's where Bertolt got his story from, which is interesting. But he says, I ran away on my horse and the rest is a blur, leaving behind 3 kids about the same age as you guys. And so you see Bertolt and Reiner listening to the story, and Annie's in the background sipping from the mug, but she's outside she's out of sight, right? She's barely there. And we see some people in the background, but I don't think it's anybody important. Leaving behind 3 kids, same age as you guys. So I want to make note of that. The Hanged Man. So the man that hung himself left behind the 3 kids and ran. Okay. And then... I'm starting to lose my voice. So, and then, you know, for reasons. So we cut back. So the whole thing with the story of the Hanged Man, it actually took place before the Reiner cadet moment. Because if you think about it, they sent a bunch of them out into the fields, right? They sent a bunch of them out into the fields doing the manual labor and then coming back. Because Armin and Mikasa and Eren said at one point, right when they first got inside Wall Rose, they were all sent out to do like harvesting duty, right? And then the following year, they chose to send like 125,000 people out to reclaim Walmaria, and there was that disaster. So that conversation with the Hanging Man happened before they joined the cadets, right? And then this next scene is happening while they're in the cadets. I never thought I would see Kenny again. I thought Kenny was over with. I thought he was done. I thought I had resigned myself. We'll never see Kenny again. No chance. But also, Annie's get up. Annie with the pigtails. Annie with the pigtails. She's got the glasses and the pigtails. She looks like Penny from Inspector Gadget. She looks like Inspector Gadget's niece, Penny. It's kind of hilarious, that get up. But she was following Kenny. Or following somebody. And he says, hey, Missy, you've got good taste in men to tail a geezer like me. Oh, because here's the thing. They were trying to locate the founding Titan. And Annie probably somehow received intel that Kenny was close to the royal family. Maybe that was it. I don't know. Or she was on a lead that was leading her to Kenny. And the irony is Kenny was the right person to follow because he does have direct ties to the royal family. She was on the case. She was so close. But, God, and Kenny looks great in Mappa design, by the way. Kenny looks wonderful. God, it's crazy. I was so floored. I can't believe we got to see him in this. And then Annie's like, oh, God. She's like, I was born at an inn. My mom, who works there, talks about my father so much. I know that it's you. So is she trying to say that she's Kenny's daughter? Is she trying to pass herself off as that? She says that. And he says, well, that's real touching. If you want a hug from Papa, put your hands up. He's like, that ain't gonna work, honey. Okay. No. But yeah. He's like, no, that's real touching, but I ain't had sex with any women at the end. He's like, nice story. And she's like, how are you sure it's not you? And he said, I made a promise to my sister This joke of yours ain't making me laugh. Oh, okay. So, I made a promise to my sister. So, I'm very curious at what Annie, and you all will probably comment in the comments. If you can comment in the comments, please do so without spoiling me, if that's possible. But the only thing I'm confused about is Annie, was she trying in that moment to suggest that she was following Kenny because she thinks that Kenny's her dad? And Kenny is suggesting, no, I promised my sister I wouldn't have sex with anybody at this inn, so there's no way I could be your father. Or was she trying to get in to the inn for something else, and she tried to call Kenny out on something, and he was like, no, that's not possible. This is the one part of the episode I am confused genuinely about. So if you can't comment about it without spoilers, then just say, hey, we can't comment, it's spoiler territory. And I'll be like, okay, we'll wait to find out. But if you know anything and you can tell me and it's not a spoiler, give me your theories, because I'm very curious about that. I made a promise to my sister, and this joke of yours isn't making me laugh. So, and he says, you're so mean, Papa. And that's when she like goes to like get to like kick him, and she gets away from him. And he's like, hey, now having a rebellious phase, are we? And I love that Kenny is the same. He's still joking even as he's chasing her. Right? So Annie was finding ways to sneak out, because they established earlier on that they had been doing reconnaissance, trying to find out information about the royal family, and they'd been like trying to find information for the last 5 years. So they weren't just training as cadets, they were also sneaking into the city to try to gather intel. And Annie just barely escaped. She got close, but she barely escaped. That's also kind of cool, because now going back to the OVA that I just watched, the Lost Girls OVA, it all makes the more sense that Annie's a detective. The whole Detective Annie thing, she's been doing it for years. Makes perfect sense. I'm like, cool, nice. And then we cut back to Jean and them talking about Bertolt. Are his legs saying snow today? Nah, that's the clear skies position. So it goes back to Jean telling Bertolt back in episode 11 of season 2, the whole thing where you'd position yourself in different angles, and we made bets on how it told the weather. Nice reference, right? And then I like that Bertolt has his hands behind his back. I wonder if, since when they cut their hands, they become Titan shifters, if he's protecting his hands from accidentally getting cut and accidentally turning into the Colossal Titan, because that would be really bad. I wonder if that's part of it. And Reiner says, call it hail or you'll be late. Or no, yeah, call it hail or you'll be late for muster. Wake up, Bertolt. Interesting. And so while you two snoozed after playing with your friends, Annie's like, I was busy crawling around the capital's sewers. So that's crazy. Like Annie's like, well, you guys are chilling out with everybody doing weird poses and stuff. I've been doing the hard, dirty work, because she's the most versatile, right? She's like, I've been doing the dirty work going through the sewers of town trying to gather intel. And I've hit my limit if he's around. And Reiner's like, your limit, huh? So several years, so this is like right before, so 5 years has passed. This is right before graduation. This is right before graduation night. So 5 years have passed. And Annie's like, let's just take what we know back to Marley. They'll be happy to hear anything at this point. Right? Because if you think about it, they've been Titan shifters. I mean, we can assume for at least, they were probably Titan shifters for at least maybe a year before they left for Parody, right? Maybe a year. So they've been Titan shifters for nearly half their term now, right? If we think about it. So, and then 4 years after that, or 5 years after that, yeah, Reiner's only got a couple years left. You know, maybe even the same time as Eren. And Reiner's like, do you honestly think that? Not if it's all we have to show after 5 years. And Reiner's not wrong in this moment. He's like, if we go back after 5 years and we have nothing to show for it, they're not going to like that. They're not going to like that at all. It's going to be a failure. And then Annie's like, well, what do you think we should do? We've tried to find out all the intel we can, and it's not working. And Reiner's like, we destroy Royal Rose. So he's the one that put up the plan. It's the only way we can smoke out the founding Titan. And Bertolt doesn't say anything to that. But Annie's like, a lot of your friends are going to die. Like a lot of your friends. And Bertolt doesn't say anything. And Annie's kind of implying, like, she says your friends, but kind of from the grasshopper scene, it's like they're Annie's friends too, right? And Reiner says, I keep telling you, they're not friends, they're devils. But gaining their trust can't hurt. And frankly, your aloof behavior. And she's like, I'm going to barf. Can you please move your face away from mine? So yeah, man, back in season 1, I was like, I kind of ship Reiner and Annie, and everybody in the fandom watching my reactions was like, really? You're like the only one. And at the time I was like, how is this not a thing? And now looking back and realizing it was mostly an act, yeah, okay. Yep, Reiner and his blondes. And I guess we can include Galliard in that, Reiner and his blondes. I don't ship Reiner and Galliard at all, but Galliard is blonde and Zeke is blonde too. Reiner and his blondes. Blondes all around. Poor Reiner. Bertolt was his only real big friend, and here we go. He's been replaced by a blonde too. No! So yeah, you have Annie, you have Historia, you have Armin, you have Zeke, you have Galliard. Shit, you have Falco now. Reiner's just surrounded by these blondes that give him nothing but further depression. Awesome. So yeah, so Reiner is trying to, we went back earlier on in one of the recaps and stuff and saying that you told a lie, that you tell lies to make yourself feel better. Right? Reiner's doing this all the time. He's telling himself the lie that he'll be as good as Marcel and he'll become a leader. He's telling a lie that these people aren't my friends, they're the devils. And we have to do this to save everybody else. Reiner's trying to be the leader. And he's like, I bet you're exhausted. Sorry for always laying the burden on you. He's like, let's call it a day. Like, he's trying to be a leader there, too. He's like, let's call it a day. Like, come on, guys, I'm the leader. And Bertolt and Annie, they're not really about it. And Bertolt is left contemplating alone. And it all makes more sense now. Bertolt being quiet and contemplating in this moment, it all makes the more sense that, honestly, Bertolt and Annie were trying to keep Reiner in check, right? This whole time. Kind of like Mikasa and Armin keeping Eren in check this whole time. Again, the parallels. But Bertolt being so contemplative, and Bertolt says, I keep having the same dream. I dream about the guy who hung himself in the fields. And it shows all of them watching. He's like, why did he tell us that story right before he hung himself? So that's interesting. Bertolt keeps having a dream back to that moment of why the man hung himself right after he told them that story. And the story that he told them was about how he saw a Titan and he ran away from home and he left 3 kids behind. So I'm assuming that the man felt extremely guilty because he'd left the kids to die. Like he had abandoned the children when he could have rescued them, when he could have got them away to safety, when he could have sacrificed himself. He was selfish and he ran away. And he felt so much guilt about being selfish that he ended up killing himself. He couldn't take it anymore. And that's funny because Bertolt expresses that same problem. And Reiner, later on in this episode, feels so guilty that he's leaving these kids to die that he's going to try to kill himself. It's like... And I wonder if Bertolt's feeling that guilt. He keeps having this dream because he's feeling guilty too. Like, I wonder if that has something to do with it, that he's feeling guilty. But then in the twilight, in the fading of the light, right? We have Eren on his hands and knees, wishing he was as strong as Reiner. And Reiner's like, Eren, take a break. You're going to die. And Eren's so mad. And he's like, how do you do it, Reiner? How can I get like you and Mikasa? Because Reiner and Mikasa were technically the best cadets out of the group. Unless Bertolt and Annie just weren't showing off. Unless they let Reiner be the better one. Oh, man. That could be something too. that Reiner was second after Mikasa, but was it really because Reiner was better? Because we established Reiner was the worst. So was it really because Reiner was better, or was it because Bertolt and Annie were letting him be better to like further that soldier persona? Oh my gosh. But yeah, in that moment, he's like, at this rate, I'll die without doing a damn thing. And Reiner sees Eren in himself. Reiner sees himself in Eren in that moment. And the eye shining, it's like, he gets it. He gets Eren, his conflict. He's like, I was in the same boat as you. I didn't think I could do it either. And I constantly questioned myself, but I kept having that resolve. And it's so funny because in that moment, he's been calling them devils and not being friends, but he relates to Eren in that moment. And I'm sorry, but I didn't put two and two together when we started this flashback of him seeing Eren and he's looking at the bullet. God. And Reiner's like, just do what you gotta do. And he puts the cartridge in, keep moving forward. And that's all we can do. And him helping Eren to his feet, he tells Eren to move forward. That's all we can do. Right? All we can do is move forward. You got to do it. And him grabbing Eren's hand, it ties back to Warrior when Eren helped Reiner up from the wall. It ties back. It makes sense now why Reiner just came outright with Eren on top of the wall during Warrior. It makes sense why he just came outright because of this conversation, because he connected with Eren and he thought Eren would understand and come with him. And when Eren didn't, that completely shattered him. Like, that completely broke him when Eren, because he saw himself in Eren and he thought in that moment that Eren would just come with him because he convinced himself, he told all these lies to himself and built up this wall technically. And in the moment Eren was like, I'm not doing what you want me to do, it just all came crashing down. And that's why Reiner's like, I feel like I'm going insane, because he was. And God, that moment of them holding hands and him rising Eren, he's like, yeah, you're right. And then Reiner putting the gun in his mouth. And Reiner said this to Eren multiple times. He said it back at the end of episode 3 and he says it here. He's like, aren't you going to drive out every last Titan? I know you can do it. And the two of them, God, the two of them standing there together in the light, side by side. They're two sides of the same coin. Reiner and Eren are two sides of the same coin. And it's kind of insanity. And now I want them to work together now. But that's not going to happen. Oh my God. And in the cell, like the light shining through the window, he has the gun pointed in his mouth and he's going to blow his brains out. He's going to hit the back of the neck and kill himself. Like at that moment, Reiner was like, I can't let Gabby take my power. I don't want to do the same thing to Falco that Marcel did to me. He's like, I'm at the end of my rope and I'm not going to be the world's hero like I thought I was going to be. And this is it. And he can't take any more. God, that's so real. And he's about to do it, and then Falco hits the wall by his cell and says, I can't let this go on. And Falco's in the same boat as Reiner. He doesn't want Gabby to die. And Falco just doesn't want to go through with all of it. And Reiner, like, puts the gun out of his mouth. There's that damn lantern over there. And he sees Falco walking away. And this is going to be... I'm sorry I'm making Reiner the thumbnail for every episode this season so far. I could have made it Eren. I could have made it Eren when we see him outside the bandages. But this shot of Reiner looking through the window and the light shining on him is so damn good. He's like, that's right. I still have those guys. And he's like, I still have something to live for. Protecting Falco and Gabby and them. He's like, I have to protect them. And
that makes me think I want him to work with Eren so badly because of it. Because I feel like him and Eren could have the same goals. They both want freedom, but he wants freedom for those kids, not himself. Like, Reiner knows he's gonna die. But, oh my god. I still have those guys. And him seeing Falco. And the whole Door of Hope thing, like, we'll still talk about with Eren, but I don't know. Oh, God. And Reiner looking through the window. Ugh. That just gutted me. It just absolutely gutted me seeing him like that. Like he was just about to end it all. And so then Falco stops by the hospital. And he's about to walk on. And that's when he gets called over by the dude. By the dude just sitting there. Yep. So here's my thing about Eren and all this. You're like, you're good enough to talk now. Here's my thing about Eren and all this. I'm sure now that I see him in this, it's obvious that it's Eren. Now that you see like the nose, I was trying to look as he was talking and I was like, man, the shape of his nose. I was trying to but I didn't want to say anything in the moment. I'm like, I want to see if we get any confirmation. But the more he talked and the more I looked at his features, and back at the end of episode 3, I mean, that was 4 years. He's had 4 years to grow out his hair. He's had 4 years to do it. Okay. Sure. Okay. He said 4 years to grow out his hair. Makes sense. I mean, the leg has thrown me off because if you're a Titan shifter, you just grow that back, right? The only two things I can think of are either one, Eren keeps chopping his leg off, which is traumatizing, but doable. Or two, Eren has found a way that he can like, because we saw that Annie focused all of her energy on regenerating one eye when both of them were slashed. Like she could regenerate one eye and do that. So if that's the case, I wonder if Eren can focus his power to not regenerate something and just stave off on it so that it doesn't regenerate quickly. Maybe that's something to it. But yeah. And so then Eren tells him, kind of, I'm here for emotional trauma, but it's a lie. So he's like, I really don't have any physically wrong with me or emotionally wrong with me. He said I lost my memory and can't go home, but I just don't want to. Which is kind of, it's funny, it's kind of what Grisha did. Grisha said he lost his memory when he went to Shiganshina, but he didn't. He just lied about it so that he could learn about it. Oh my god, Eren's doing the same thing Grisha did. He's doing the same thing Grisha did. Eren is faking having his memory loss so that he can learn about Marley the same way that Grisha faked his memory being lost so he could learn about the Eldians and Shiganshina. Oh my god. Okay. And I was too flabbergasted at this point to really pay attention, so I'm going to need to pay attention to this final conversation. He's like, it'd be hard to face my family now. And honestly, the only family he has left is Zeke. So he's in the same place as Zeke. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. And he's like, will you snitch on me? And Falco's like, I wouldn't do that. And I think he believes him, right? He's like, you're hurt. Is it from your warrior training? And Falco's like, yeah, but I won't become one. And so he's like, another candidate is so talented, I don't even stand a chance. That's good to hear. So yeah, he's glad that Falco's not going to be chosen as a warrior. And he's like, huh? And he's like, you're a good guy. I hope you live a long life. That you don't become a Titan shifter and have your life limited. And Falco's like, excuse me? He's like, but I don't want them to be. And so here's the thing. This is the difference between Falco. Falco doesn't want to be a warrior. He just also doesn't want Gabby to become a warrior. So Falco doesn't want to become a warrior at all. He just doesn't want Gabby to become one either. He says, I don't want them to be a warrior. And he says, why not? And he's like, because, and he says, is the other candidate a girl? Like, okay, so he's trying to narrow it down, right? And at first he's like, oh, do you have a crush on, at first I thought Eren was going to go about saying, oh, is it because you have a crush on her that you don't want her to become a warrior? But he's trying to narrow it down. He's trying to narrow it down and see who exactly he's talking about, right? And so Falco says she's famous around here. She did incredible things in the war. And then everyone's saying she should be the next Armor. And so at that point, we see Eren's face. Oh, that eye. That eye. So Eren's been fishing for information, right? So Eren just got 2 huge pieces of information, okay? Eren just got handed 2 gigantic nuggets of information from Falco. One, he knows that Gabby Braun is the one being targeted to become the next Titan Shifter. He knows who it is now, right? He's been following... Hold on. I want to go back and look at the rooftop from episode 2. I want to go back and look at the rooftop from episode 2 from the last episode because hold on. I want to pull this up here. Because I was like, he was trying to narrow down which kid, right, was them, right? Oh my God. Okay, I'm at that scene. It was him! It wasn't Mikasa! It was not Mikasa or Peak. It was Eren! Eren, oh my God. Eren was... Yep, okay. Eren, oh my God. Eren was the one on top of the roof watching them. Because for a second I was like, why would he need to narrow it down, right? I'll go back to that scene now. I'm like, why would he need to narrow it down? Okay, oh my God. This whole thing's messed up, so I gotta go back and start the play. I got it back where I were. So yeah, so I was wondering, I was like, why would he need to know? Okay, I need to go back to the other episode. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Holy cow. Okay. So yeah, at the time I was like, okay, well, why would Eren need to narrow down which kid was which unless he's been following Reiner and seeing the kids with him? But he did that. He was the one on the rooftop, not Mikasa. Oh, okay. Makes sense. It all makes sense. So he was trying to, 1, narrow down which kid was in line to become the next Titan Shifter. And now Eren has put 2 and 2 together a second time, realizing that it's not only this Gabby girl, but that Reiner is the one that she's going to eat. So it's going to be Reiner that's replaced next. Oh my God. And the look in Eren's eye is like he's surprised. He's like, oh, Reiner's going to be eaten next. Okay. So Falco just gave Eren like a wealth of ammunition to use against Reiner, as if Reiner needed more trauma against him. But now Eren knows that Reiner's being targeted to being eaten, and he knows that Gabby's being targeted to succeed him. I don't think Falco says that Gabby's his cousin yet, though. So that's the thing. But Falco says, but since I'm powerless, I can't do a damn thing about it. And Eren would know about being powerless. That's Eren's whole thing, is all throughout seasons 1 and 2, he thought he was powerless. So Falco is relating to Eren. Falco is like in between Eren and Reiner. He's like, both Eren and Reiner are relating to Falco in so many ways. But yeah, Eren knows what that sense of powerlessness feels like. And so, and then we have Eren's big spiel here at the end, this monologue. And at this point, I had figured out it was Eren, and I was so stunned that I really just couldn't do anything. And I was like, my brain was melting. So I didn't get really a chance to pay attention to this monologue. But Eren saying, every day I'm here, I think, why did it ever come to this? Okay. Damaged minds and bodies and their freedom taken away. Yep. And we see all the soldiers that are wounded and everything, even losing themselves. So yeah, so Eren talking about that these men, that freedom being lost to these soldiers at the hospital. Because yeah, Eren's there at the hospital. He's seeing all these bodies like just completely withered away without freedom, and they've lost themselves. If people knew it would come to this, nobody would go to war. Yeah, if people saw the aftermath and realized that it would come to be like this, nobody would go to war. But most people are pushed by something and forced to march into hell. Most people are slaves to something, right? But people march on because they're slaves to something. We're going to tie it back to Kenny's words. They're pushed by something and they march into hell because of it. And we've seen so many examples at this point in this series. That something wasn't their choice. Their situations or others made them do it. Oh, interesting. Interesting. So Eren is suggesting that being a slave to something, you're not a slave to something by your own prerogative. It's because a situation or others are making you do it. Interesting. That's interesting. Okay. Which, honestly, in Eren's perspective, that makes sense because Eren being a slave to freedom is kind of not of his own choosing, right? He's influenced by not only the attack titan in himself, but by his father, by his situation. That kind of relates a little bit to Zeke's logic of why Zeke went against his family because he didn't want to be pushed into something against his will. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Others made them do it. It wasn't their choice. But he's also right because these people, like Reiner's mother conditioned him that she's like, you have to go through with this because if you speak up, we're all dead. Like Reiner, the whole idea, and that ties back to the whole idea of people are slaves to things, not necessarily by choice. So you can look at it two ways. Like in some sense, I think you are a slave to some things by your own prerogative, right? I think Kenny was a slave to how he was by his own prerogative. But Eren's arguing that a lot of people are slaves to things not by choice, but because others push them to do it or their situation requires it. So like for the Marleyans, for the Eldians that are in Marley, they are slaves to this notion of freedom and this notion to loyalty to Marley, not because they want to, but because they don't have a choice. Their situation is making them be loyal. So it's kind of like what Bertolt said, being like, I like you all, I love you, but you have to die because I don't have a choice. It's tying back to that. Okay. But people who push their own backs see a different kind of hell. So it's like people that are self-motivated see a different kind of hell. Okay. They can see something beyond the hell. So people who take command of their free will, seeing something beyond. Okay. And that ties back to season 3, part 1 and part 2 with Eren being like, I've seen the ocean, but what's beyond it? I want to know what's beyond. So Eren's saying like, you can see something beyond the hell. Okay. It may be hope. It may even be another hell. Okay. And that ties to the end of episode 22 in season 3 when Eren's like, what's beyond the sea? Maybe it's hope. Maybe it's more hell. What is it, right? Okay, it could be hope, it could be another hell. Only those who keep moving forward will ever know. Oh, and that shot. It looks a lot like Grisha there. God, okay. I like that Eren and Reiner, again, parallels. Eren and Reiner both got facial hair this time skip. So yeah, only those who move forward will ever know. We won't know unless we move forward and find out, right? Oh my God. Oh my God. And then it just boom cuts. So Eren establishing like, I have to keep moving forward or I'll never know. He's like, it may be hell that awaits me and it may be hope, but unless I move forward and find out, I'm not going to know. So that does make me feel a little bit better about Eren's character going into this episode, because I honestly have been worried about Eren's character since the end of season 3, because Eren was pretty much a hollow shell of himself. And now Eren Stradamus has decided he's spoken his words of wisdom and Eren's third eye has opened and he's realizing that, yep, I'm seeing the conflict and we've got to keep moving forward. Otherwise, we're not going to solve anything. We can't just wallow in the past. We have to keep moving forward. Interesting. I am glad, though, that Eren is seeing that there are possibilities. I'm glad that he mentioned hope, right? The door of hope. That it's there. You just have to open it, right? That's what he's saying. It's like there's, the door of hope may be there. It may be a door to hell. It may be a door to hope. But unless you physically open the door, you're not going to know. So you have to take the initiative to do it, right? You have to take the initiative to do it. So that makes me feel a little bit better about Eren, that maybe he's in a better headspace. Maybe. But, oh my God. This episode kind of blew my mind. I nearly cried. It blew my mind. I have never felt more empathy for Reiner now that we know his full story. Death flags for Reiner, by the way. Anytime we get like a full character's story and all this, I get instant death flags. I'm like, well, but Reiner's had death flags since the start of this season because it's been established that Gabby or Falco or somebody's going to eat him. So it's been established that he's had death flags and he about took his own life in this episode. So, oh, buddy. Okay. I feel a little bit bad for Reiner. Quite a bit. But yeah, so Eren's there, Connie's there, Jean's there. I assumed Mikasa was there, but we don't know for sure. I'm thinking so. We're thinking Armin might be there. And poor Falco. I do like that Falco is getting this idea of hope from Eren, that Eren is motivating. It's funny because Eren is influencing Falco, and Falco is influencing Reiner, and Reiner influenced Eren. So it's this big circle of life. This circle of influence has happened, and it's kind of fascinating. But God, we learned so much. We're learning so much each episode. My whole concept of this show gets warped and expanded upon each episode, and it's kind of amazing. I'm in love with this season. We're only 3 episodes in, but I'm in love with it. Oh man, I know why y'all were hyped. Isayama, what have you done? So yeah, I've talked for nearly 2 hours. God. So yeah, there we go. Fun times indeed. So I really loved this episode. I'm really excited about it. Now I'm really excited for episode 4. I've been told that episode 4 has a post-credit scene, so I have been notified about that, so I will watch to the end of the entire clip. Which, these clips that are on here, these videos, I usually watch until the preview, and usually they show the post-credit scenes before the preview, so I'm pretty sure I'll hit it. No worries. If I don't see it before the preview, though, I'll just, skip through the preview and get to the post-credit scene, but I'm sure they'll show it to us before then. But, yeah! Holy crap, y'all. Fun times. Fun times ahead. I'm really excited. So, can't wait to get into this. But yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Please no spoilers. But thank you all for watching my ramblings. This episode. In the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll talk to y'all again soon with more Attack on Titan.